Hi Pisces, welcome to Yellow Card No Tarot with me. My name is Carole and this is going to be a general reading for you for February 2026. And if you're coming back for another reading, I want to thank you for supporting the channel. And if this is your first time here visiting Yellow Card No Tarot, I want to hear from you, so let me know below. And also, I hope you take the time to subscribe to my channel so that my readings can get out to a lot more people that need the healing. So in this reading for this month, I sat down before I came on for my first reading that I did, and the word authenticity came to me. And that I knew that the reading was going to be around authenticity, and I thought, okay, what card in the deck? I know there's a card for me that represents authenticity. And sure enough, right away it was the Ace of Swords that came out for me, because the sword by itself represents the authentic sword. It's that one that's going to, poke away at, chip away at those layers of our ego self. It's going to chip away at those things that the belief systems that we have, the things that we've been told all our life that we continue to carry and believe. And so for me, it's this sort of bullshit. It's going to cut through that BS. And oftentimes you'll see the Queen, the King, and the Knights will be carrying this sword, and the Page does as well. And I always refer to it as that sword that's going to cut through the BS. It's going to get to our truth. It's going to get to clarity and see how things really are. Authenticity, this sword's about seeing truth. It's about being able to get honest with yourself and to be able to sit with yourself and with the truth of what you find out. Maybe some memories might surface, emotions might come up, and so you have to sit with that even though it's uncomfortable. And it's going to be about beginning to live and actually speak from what's real for you, and not what we're taught, not what we have believed all our life. And so this is sort of going to be around as our theme, the Ace of Swords, and getting to our authentic self. And so the reading that we're going to do today is called Coming Back to Your Truth. And it's going to be about what illusions or false beliefs that you're holding on to that need to be released. And then we're going to go and do some healing, and we're going to look into your shadow. And, we're going to find out, what is it in childhood? What is it when you were an adolescent that needs healing around this particular situation right now, this illusion or these false beliefs you have about yourself. Because in order to let those go, let whatever it is that you need to let go of that you've been holding on to for too long, we need to do some healing around it. And then finally, we're going to look at what does the tarot suggest for you to reconnect to your true self. All right, so in order to do this reading, I'm going to be using the Ehrenberg Tarot as well as the Clarify with the Tarot of A.E. White. And to begin with, I pulled out 2 oracle cards. I have a Persian, so you'll be seeing me touch my face in my reading sometimes, and it's like, when you have a Persian, it's all over you. When I come on, I have to, wipe myself off with those rolly things. All right, let's not get distracted from your reading. But I did pull out 2 oracle cards for you. And one was from the Shaman's Dream, and the other one was Return of Spirit. Now, if some of you don't know, I am a shamanic practitioner as well. So you'll see that I'm going to be pulling in some shamanism when I can in my readings, a little bits here and there of it. And also, I do offer you a free 15-minute consultation if you're ever interested in a shamanic healing. If you want to find out a little bit about it and what it is, there's a link down in my description box below, and it's free. There will be no pressure whatsoever. I won't email you afterwards or to ask you if you want to come back. So it's a great opportunity to get some really deep healing by the spirits if you have never had that before. And also I do personal readings, tarot readings, and so there's a link as well down below. And both of those are from my website called carolecares.com. So let's begin. The two cards I got for you, and I've been fascinated by putting these two oracle decks together and how they complement each other. The first one's called Closing Door. This is from the Shaman's Dream. Yes, that's what it's called, Shaman's Dream Oracle. And so closing the door, here's a sign, here's a card of completion, a card of recognizing that there's an end to something right now in your life that needs to come through for you. So whether it's a relationship, a job, a situation, a task that you've been doing for a long time, it's time to unlock this door and set yourself free. And I know that probably there's still a big part of you that's trying to hold on to this, but this is really an invitation for you to finally walk out that door, close it behind you, and not look back. And you may be tempted to go back there sometimes, but it's asking you, to muster up the courage and say no more. I'm done with this. And it's very interesting because when you close that door, there's always something new that comes in for you. I know this from my own life when I've been intuitively guided to do something. I knew that there was something better for me or something else to come in for me. And the next card that you got was Gifted. And so it was just like you close the door and look what happens is you realize that, oh, there's a special gift here that I have. I have a talent. I'm skilled at something that maybe you didn't know. And I think some of you might know, but it's now going to start to rise here and go, okay, it's time to share this gift with other people. But what happens is doubt sets in. You start to compare yourself to others. You have this big fear around doing this, right? And so this is what the reading is going to be centered around, are these two cards, letting go, and then the doubt and the fear. And so let's see where, maybe this particular incident happened when you were younger as well, where you had a lot of doubt and you had a lot of fear in your system. And so let's take a look at what's going on, because the tarot is going to really tell us now, where are these false beliefs or these illusions that you have? Where'd they come from? And then we're going to have to heal those, okay? So let's begin with number one. What illusions or false beliefs are you holding on to that need to be released? One card for Pisces as to what needs to be released here. What have they been holding on to for too long? Here we go. You have the Moon card. What in you needs healing in order to let this go? What in you needs healing in order to let this... Ooh. Now you have the Two of Swords in reverse. It hit a pile over here, and so it said, oh, I want to reverse that card. Loved how that happened. And what does the tarot suggest for you to reconnect to yourself? And this is in sideways, the Ten of Swords. So we're going to put that right there. Okay, so we'll get started on these three cards. Well, first of all. So what illusion or false beliefs do you have about yourself? And you get the Moon card. And that's an interesting card to begin with about something that you've been holding on for too long. And I'm going to say that... the Moon card is a big, first of all, it's a major arcana card. So it's a big force from the universe here. And it represents our intuition. It represents those things that are really hidden to us, that are sitting in our unconscious. And our intuition is something that, well, first of all, our intuition is our inner guidance. It's our inner knowing, our gut knowing about something, right? Most of us are up in our head and use our ego self that drives the show and tells us everything we need to do. But when we start to get to a point in our lives where we are embodied and we're in our body and we can trust when we need to do something like what you're being asked to do, like leave a relationship or a job or a situation you're in right now, sometimes we will tend to get confused as to whether or not that is our ego self saying that or if it's our gut feeling. And so I think for a long time you've been doubting that this is an intuitive decision on your part. It's sitting here, but I think you need to let go of that whole thing of, you need to follow. You need to start to follow. I guess this is what it's asking you is now you need to trust. It's kind of a funny way right now of what they're trying to say to you rather than to let go. But I think you need to trust your gut is what it's asking you, because I think for too long you've been up in your head doubting, and our ego self up in our mind can tell us, can make us doubt things, can confuse us, can often say to us, oh no, don't do this. Especially, let's just take for example, it's in a relationship. Your ego self will kick in and go, oh no, you're gonna have to be alone. Oh, don't do that. Oh, what are you going to do now? How are you going to, you might not have any money. You won't have any money to do this. You got to stay with this person for this reason or that reason. That's our ego self, because it's such a scared part. And so it creates all this fear in your head around, why you shouldn't do this. And it creates these doubts in your head. But it's saying, okay, now it's time to trust this intuition, because for too long now, you have been allowing your ego self to take over and take control. But trust it. Trust it. So let's have a few more clarifiers here. Okay, so there was this one, then that one, and then this one. So you have the Nine of Swords, the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and the Two of Swords in reverse. And so it's interesting that this Two of Swords is coming up in your shadow as well here when you were young. So, this is an important card right here. So, we're looking at the Nine of Wands right here. It tells me that when you were younger, like there was a lot, I think you were, this is this individual that's got his bandage on his head because he's been through so much. And so this tells me that, I'm going to say you've been through so much in this situation, this relationship, this whatever it is, your job that you've been holding on to. And it's like, you know in your gut that you've been ignoring, that you haven't been listening to. You know that it's time, because look what it's done to you. But I think here that you've allowed yourself in an upright position. The Two of Pentacles talks about this individual that's very, very ungrounded. He's trying to balance these two items. He's trying to juggle these two items, these pentacles, and he's doing the one foot. So he's very ungrounded. And this is in reverse here. So it's come to a point where, you're not only ungrounded in this, because when our ego self is in control, we are ungrounded because we're not in our body. We're not following our intuition. And to the point that I'm not sure you even know anymore the difference between your ego self being in control or your intuition. You're quite confused. I'm going to say that's how strong your mind is right now that's controlling you. And this situation tells me that, in an upright position, this person right here is sitting there completely blindfolded, crossing those two swords across their chest, across their heart. So you've really shut down. Maybe you've had to shut down your own heart over this. Numb it out. When we are numb, when we can't feel anymore, when we just don't know what to do and we've completely shut down, and in the background is the water flowing, our emotions aren't flowing anymore. We're not in our body because you have a decision to make. And I think what's happened is you've completely shut everything down because you know what decision you have to make. Your intuitive sense is saying this, but your ego self has completely shut everything down and numbed you out and went, because it doesn't want you to do this. It doesn't like change. It's petrified of change. And so let's go and look at what situation when you were younger, a child, when you were an adolescent, happened to you that was very similar to this. Because this whole situation right here that's happening to you right now is triggering an incident when you were younger. When the same thing was happening, where you had to make this decision and you're being asked to do something, but you were bombarded by, these different people maybe around you telling you different things, and you weren't in touch with your intuition at that time either. When we're very young, we are. But eventually when, trauma starts happening to us and different people tell us different things, we lose sense of our intuition, those intuitive skills we have. And so this Two of Swords, which we talked about already, it's time to look at. It's like, okay, where you in your childhood where you completely shut down, right? Where you had to shut down. You see, as a child, when things like this happen, when you're required to make adult decisions for yourself, and you can't, your body will automatically shut down, and then you'll go get up in your head, your ego self will take over. So we're going to look at, where in your childhood did this happen? The same thing where you shut down when you were younger. And again, it's in reverse. So I know you shut down. Your emotions shut down. Intuition was shut down. There's one. And one more card. There it is. You end up getting the intuition card in the major arcana. So besides the moon card. All right. So the Knight of Pentacles here is in reverse. And then you get the High Priestess right underneath this card where you shut down. I'm going to say when you were younger, the Knight of Pentacles, the Knights in my deck, first of all, they're called my freedom fighters. They're fighting for freedom. And that's what you're fighting for right now, is freedom, right? And I think I said it with my oracle cards that, you want that freedom. You want to walk through that door and close it and never look back. And so when you were younger, there was a stage in your life, maybe, and usually it's, this is usually a teenage part where you wanted the freedom. Maybe you wanted the freedom to, to speak your truth. You wanted the freedom to use your emotions, like anger, like, joy, like maybe you needed to express your fear. Maybe there was these big emotions that you had that you weren't able to express. Maybe you wanted to express some grief at maybe not being allowed to do something. I'm wondering here, oftentimes, this is a card that these freedom fighters, when you were younger, felt very oppressed. People told you what to do when you were growing up, and people told you how to think. People told you what to do. And so imagine a teenager that's just being told what to do and oppressed and wants so badly just to be able to be themselves. And so the Pentacle is all about embodiment and getting back in your body. The Pentacle is the body, so it speaks about you being able to be in your body, but this is in reverse here. And you weren't able to express your emotions. You weren't able to be allowed in your body when you were younger. And this card would definitely mean that you probably tried to express some anger when you were younger at what was happening, and you weren't allowed to. And you know what it's like when a teen gets angry and they're told, put that anger away, or when you're a young child, to put it away. And so there's a heck of a lot of anger here that wanted to come out and wasn't allowed to, and so it had to be repressed. And then you get the High Priestess card. That this is the feminine part of you. And we all have a feminine and a masculine part. Has nothing to do with our gender. But this is a major arcana card. It's actually the first half of the feminine archetype in the major arcana. The second half is the Empress. This particular card, the High Priestess, is all about intuition. She's all about being in your body, trusting your gut, knowing what way to go, knowing what to do. And this is buried. This is buried in your shadow because you learned at a very young age. I'm going to say it was very controlled. You were very controlled as to what to feel, what to do. And so here you are being asked now to make this decision for yourself. It's very difficult if you've been controlled as a young child or an adolescent. And then now when you get into adulthood, you're asked to make this big decision for yourself. It's very, very difficult to muster up that courage to do it for yourself because it's almost like you're waiting for that next shoe to fall. You're waiting for somebody to tell you, no, you can't do this. Or maybe now it's time, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, that you might have to deal with some anger first. There's some real anger here brewing under the surface, and maybe you know that. And so let's take a look at, because we know now that, you lost your intuition when you were younger because you weren't allowed to express your emotions. You weren't allowed to use your emotions, and especially your anger. And so maybe you're feeling a lot of anger right now at this situation or at these people that you need to walk away from. And so what does the tarot suggest for you to reconnect to yourself? Well, you have this Ten of Swords. Sideways it came in. And the Ten of Swords in an upright position speaks about, and here's all these swords again. I think the swords have come out. Swords have been really important for you for this reading. And, the Ace of Swords, like I said at the beginning, was the authenticity. But these ones represent all those mental thoughts, all those mental, those opinions that you say to yourself about yourself, that you tell yourself. Those are the things that you have been raised with. For example, you're sitting here with a situation that you have to leave, and you're doubting yourself that you can do this. Well, you're going to hear things like, you can't do this. Who do you think you are? What are you going to do this for? Why would you do this? This is a dumb idea. Those are all the things that you heard when you were younger, when you were shut down when you were younger, when your intuition was shut down. People told you all these things. And so you lost the confidence in yourself. You didn't believe you could do anything because they told you that you couldn't do anything. And so it's really time now to look at these swords, these mental thoughts that you keep spinning in your head and telling yourself, because that's what's holding you back. And that's what the tarot wants you to do, is to look at those thoughts and opinions that you have about yourself. All right, so it's very interesting that you get the Moon card again. And remember, we started off with the Moon card. You get the Eight of Swords right after it. And then you get the King of Swords in reverse. Fascinating that you get the sword here, the single sword. So, first message here is over here with the Moon card. So the Moon card again is our intuition. And it's really important that in order for you to make this decision, it's time for you to get in touch once again with your intuitive self. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to be in your body. You cannot access your intuition unless you're in your body. And you can't access any emotions like your anger unless you're in your body. And that anger that you see people where they yell at people in the wrong places in the wrong time, that's somebody that's expressing their ungrounded anger. But there is a way that you can express your grounded anger and get in touch with your anger. So it's very important now that you get in your body, you get grounded, you learn how to ground yourself, because you are going to need to express some of these emotions, these belief systems that you're telling yourself. Those need to be expressed, and I express all that on paper. I journal from those. They're like my writing prompts. Who do you think you are? And that's how I'll start, because it's what people told me when I was younger, and it's got to be put out on paper or on the computer. After you've done that, once you've grounded, you got into your body, there's this energy that's coming towards you. And reminds me of this gifted card right here, right? This is pure energy. Wands are direction, pure energy. And it almost seems like when you get into your body, when you get in touch with your intuition, you're going to have that clarity. You're going to have that clarity, that focus of where you need to go. But there's something that you need to be aware of, because this little guy, big guy, this king, he's the masculine side. This is your ego self. And he's got that sword in his hand. Remember I said our court cards will carry this sword. So what does it mean for this guy who's our masculine self, our ego self? Well, our ego self doesn't like authenticity. It wants nothing to do with you getting back to your intuition, getting back to your truth, getting clarity. It wants to keep you in confusion. It wants to keep you in status quo. It doesn't want you to change anything about your situation. That's just how the ego works, because it's a very scared part. And it still thinks you're in childhood. It's trying to protect you. And so you have to be really aware of, what are these thoughts that keep coming in your head? Like, don't do this. When you hear them coming up, don't do this. Why are you doing this? It's really time to write from them, journal from those. Those are really good writing prompts that you can use to write from those, because there is some fear as well that you need to get in touch with, and write from your fears. What are you scared of? What are you scared of? Because you're an adult now. You had reason to be really scared when you were younger, but this is all triggering this when it happened when it was younger. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with my playlist on journaling, and you'll find something in there, how to journal from fear. I would suggest you journal from your fear. And I also have some grounding videos on my Carole Cares website, and and actually my YouTube channel as well, so you can get in touch with those. But I'll leave you with the journaling, and then from there you can decide if you want to go and look into grounding yourself. So I want you to have compassion for yourself, Pisces, for what you're working through. This is a very difficult journey, the healing journey, but it's the most important journey of your life. So take care, and I'll talk soon. Bye.